Let's talk about the time Ant-Man gave Spidey some big problems. Scott's not really in a great place at the time, like literally, he's living inside of an anthill. And to make matters worse, Cassie shows up and tells her dad that she wants to move to LA to join the West Coast Avengers. She's just fed up with him not taking this whole superhero thing seriously, and Scott is pissed. He tells her that she's the whole reason he moved to Florida so that the two of them could be a team. But she says that patrolling swamps once a week isn't exactly taking the whole superhero thing seriously. Scott's offended by this as he tells Cassie that he's recently uncovered a giant Earth-threatening conspiracy. He tells her about his recent encounter with the villain Macrothrax and how he's leading a bug invasion to take over the world. The threat is so big that the two head to the airport because he's going to need to recruit the help of the Avengers. He gets on the phone with Tony, who tells Scott to call him Iron Man, and he explains he needs the Avengers database for this mission. He's going to have to get a Quinjet, or at least no less than business class tickets, so that they can get up to Avengers Tower right now. And Tony tells him that it's Avengers Mountain now, and he says, well, yeah, I probably should have known that. Tony makes sure that Scott and Cassie are in close proximity of each other and sends a teleporter to tip the two of them up to Avengers Mountain. Now, Scott realizes he's interrupted their dinner and tells them, hey guys, you can finish, and Blade says, no shit, we can finish. Scott begins to explain Macrothrax and how big of a threat that he really is as Tony and T'Challa start upgrading his and Cassie's helmet. Now, Scott tells Tony that he's standing right there if they need help with anything, and T'Challa bursts out in laughter. But the Black Panther takes one look at Cassie and says, oh, I mean, your father's going to be a huge help. He'll probably do most of the intellectual heavy lifting. Using the database, they find that the villain turned hero Humbug, who is now deceased, had a connection to Macrothrax. Since Felicia Hardy worked on the Heroes for Hire with him, she would probably know of his last known whereabouts. Now, we cut to Spider-Man and Black Cat as Pete's explaining to her that he has a friend who's asking for a favor. He tells Felicia that Ant-Man's trying to impress his daughter, that he feels like a loser, and hell, he lives in Florida now. Could you imagine falling so far off the ladder that happened to you? Now, Spidey's confused as to why Felicia's cutting him off and shaking her head rapidly, as it turns out that Scott and Cassie got teleported in right behind him. And they heard every single thing that he said. Now, the four of them head in the tunnels under Madison Square Garden as they're looking for Humbug's last known location and making a little bit of small talk. Scott tells Felicia about all of his powers, and she tells him that her power is that she gives people bad luck. And Scott wonders if giving yourself bad luck is a power because he might have that one too, as Felicia thinks that's pretty funny. Spider-Man's in the background saying not really. They find Humbug's body as Scott goes to console Felicia over the loss of her late teammate. All of a sudden, a hive mind of silkworms known as Thread goes to attack the group. And through this, they find out that Macrothrax was working for the bug lords that live in the Savage Land. Thread begins to attack the group of them. Scott's getting choked to death, and when Cassie sees this, she panics. Using the upgrades in her helmets, completely blows apart the entire hive mind. Now, the webhead asks Scott why he didn't try that, but when he doesn't answer, they realize he's still getting choked by the worms. So Felicia quickly jets over there to save him. Now, she cuts the worms loose and starts patting Scott on the back and making sure that he's okay, as Spider-Man starts screaming that he's fine, that she can quit touching him now. Scott and Cassie tell the two of them that they have it from here, and thanks for all the help, and Spider-Man says, yeah, we really better get going. Cassie thanks her dad for the great day that they've had together and for bringing her along in the first place, and he wonders if that helmet amplifies sarcasm too. He said every hero treated him like a joke. He was sitting there getting choked out when his little girl had to save his ass, and Spider-Man doesn't like him. And that's when Cassie stops him and says, Dad, he was jealous of you. Black Cat was always standing next to you, laughing at all of your jokes. It was driving him crazy. Spider-Man is jealous of my dad. That's freaking cool, as Scott swells with pride and says, yeah, that is pretty cool.